y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrea and today we are doing a review and swatches and look with the new Natasha Denona Glam palette. This is what the inside looks like. This is one of Natasha Denona's first cool toned / neutral eyeshadow palettes. She does have a mini glam palette, which I do not currently have. I have a feeling that this palette is going to be highly used during the fall and winter this year. Cool tones are on their way back. I don't think warm tones are going anywhere, but I think people are gonna start getting back into cool tones, and I'm pretty excited about it. In the beginning of my makeup journey, I used to always wear cool tones, and then when warm tones became super popular, I kind of switched over. So I'm excited to dive back into cool tones. So let me give you an overview of this palette. It's currently available on Sephora.com and Beautylish and the Natasha Denona website, I believe. It will not be in Sephora stores until the 14th of this month. And the claims on this palette is that it's an everyday palette that creates super dramatic smoky eyes as well as a variety of natural and extreme glam looks. I highly agree with that. I've been playing with this. I've tried every single shade in this palette already. And I think that you can create some really beautiful soft looks for every day for work with this. Or you can go super glam and do a full-on smoky eye with it. There are 5 mattes in this palette and 10 shimmers. Shimmer shades are my favorite, and especially Natasha Denona shimmer shades, so I am not mad at the amount of mattes in this. I've seen some other people that have said it could use more mattes, and I kind of agree that you could use more of a variety of matte shades, but the ratio of mattes to shimmer, I love personally, so I'm not mad at there being a ton of shimmer shades. One of the big complaints about this palette is the names of the shades, and I don't love it. So instead of normal shade names, she went in with like center eyelid and crease and blend. My big issue with that, as well as most people, is that a transition shade for me is not going to be a transition shade for someone with a deep dark skin tone. It just doesn't work that way. Not everything is 100% universal. I wish she would have just stuck with her normal shade names and included like a pamphlet. I know that I think Too Faced used to do this all the time with their palettes. I don't know if they still do. You know what? I think they still do, because the last palette I bought from them was the Born This Way Natural Nudes palette, and I'm pretty sure it came with one. They include pamphlets that show you where to place things to create different eye looks. So I think that that would have been a better way to show people how to use this palette instead of putting these names on the palette when they don't work for everyone in that specific way. So like I said, I've used every single shade in this palette. I was playing with different looks with it yesterday, and there is no dud in this palette. All of these shades are gorgeous. All the mattes blend beautifully. Even the dark shade lash line that's almost black blends gorgeously. All of the shimmer shades are beautiful and shiny. A lot of people have been saying that this palette is similar to the ABH Sultry palette, and I have that here, so we're going to do some swatches and some comparison swatches as well. I have not compared these yet myself, so we're going to do that for the first time on video. So let's dive right into some live swatches. I'm going to start at the top and go across and down the 3 rows. And then we'll dive into comparison swatches in a bit. So first is center eye. God, I hate these names, especially because there's multiple of the same ones. Like, how do you know the difference? First, we have center eyelid. Ooh. That's just from my Fitbit. Ignore that. So that's center eyelid, outer eyelid, inner corner. This top section has to be my favorite part of this palette. It's got like a pinky rosy tint to it. That's my jam. So next we have Crease, Transition, and Smoke. And then we have Blend, Lash Line, and Inner Corner. Whoops, if I could be on camera. And then we have Center Eyelid, Center Eyelid, and Outer Eyelid, which we've already had one of those as well. Another Center Eyelid, and another Outer Eyelid, and last but not least, Brow Bone. So there's the whole palette. It's a beautiful palette. Okay, so let's do comparisons to the ABH palette. This shade right here, Inner Corner, looks very similar to Pearl right here from the ABH palette. So this is Natasha Denona, and this is Pearl from the ABH. So as you can see, they are different. The Natasha Denona one is more pinky, and the Pearl shade is more icy. And then you have this first shade over here called Center Eyelid, that's a little bit of a rosy pink. And then from the ABH palette, you have Rose Quartz, which is actually my favorite shade. If you can't tell how much I've dug into that, I'm gonna hit pan on that at some point. So first is the Natasha Denona, and this is the ABH shade. Oh, my swatches are horrible, sorry. The Rose Quartz shade from the ABH palette is a lot warmer than the Natasha Denona shade. So this shade, Smoke, has what looks to be a similar shade, and the similar shade is Twig. So this is Natasha Denona, this is ABH. So the ABH shade is cooler, and the Smoke shade is actually a more neutral brown. So then you have this Center Lid shade, and then Cyborg from ABH. This is the Natasha Denona, and this is Cyborg. And again, those are different. The ABH one looks almost more periwinkle undertoned and like a purpley blue, and then this looks blue undertone, but it's just darker and maybe a little bit warmer. And then we have the shade Blend and Birch from ABH, Natasha Denona, and then Birch. The Natasha Denona one looks more purpley, like warm and purpley. And this one looks almost more maybe yellow undertoned. They may look similar on the eyes, but to me they're pretty different. So now we're gonna swatch this shade right here, Outer Eyelid, and I'm gonna swatch Cinder Antique. So here's the Natasha Denona. And this is Cinder and Teak. Those definitely are not similar. I'll go ahead and swatch Ember from the ABH palette as well. So as you can see, none of those are the same. I do feel like the ABH shimmers in this Sultry palette are some of my favorite shimmers ever. They are super sparkly. They do have some glitter in them, but the reflect on them is just stunning. So last we're going to do this gold shade from the Natasha Denona palette called Center Eyelid against Steampunk from the ABH palette. So here's Natasha Denona, which this shade goes for days. It's so pretty. And there's the steampunk shade. Not that it needs more, but those are actually quite similar. I did not think they would be. I think the ABH shade is just a little bit darker than the Natasha Denona shade. So I think those are actually close enough to say they're pretty dupes, but I don't think any of these other shades are quite the same. So they both give similar vibes. I feel like overall the ABH palette is a little bit warmer than the Natasha Denona palette, and that's, you know, partially because of the Bloom shade, which everybody seems to hate in this palette, but I actually love it. I use it all the time. My go-to look for this Sultry palette is I go in with Birch, Twig, Bloom, all in the crease in the outer corner, and then I put Rose Quartz on the lid and Pearl on the inner corner and the brow bone, and then I throw the same 3 matte shades on the lower lash line. I love this palette, specifically that look. I honestly should probably dive into this more and get some use out of the other shades, but I just can't help it. Every time I use this palette, I want to create that look. So to me, overall, these aren't super duper similar. They do give similar vibes. If you have the ABH palette, I don't think you need the Natasha Denona palette, but it's totally up to you whether you think that it's something you need or not. I personally love both formulas, the ABH formula and the Natasha Denona formula. I do feel like the Natasha Denona is a little bit easier to work with. ABH shadows can be extremely pigmented, so if you're not careful, you can over apply things. But overall, I think they're pretty user-friendly. So I also just wanted to do some quick comparisons to the other Natasha Denona palettes that I have. Here's the gold palette and Glam next to each other. The blend shade here looks pretty similar to Aria. So here's the blend shade from Glam. Oops. And this is Aria. As you can see, the undertones are completely different. This is almost more purpley, neutral, and this is more mustardy. And then there's this outer eyelid shade and Varus, I think is what it's called, from the gold palette. So this is the Glam palette, and this is the gold palette. Again, not really similar. I don't think the golds in those are similar at all either. So here's Lila next to Glam. Overall, I feel like the Lila shades lean more purple. We'll go ahead and swatch Crease from the Glam palette, and oh shit, I cut out the overlay thing with the names on it. So this shade is what we're comparing to. So this is Glam, this is Lila. That shade is so gorgeous. It's just more purple. This is more gray. So here is Sunrise next to Glam. The only similarities I see are Laurel from this palette and Inner Corner from the Glam palette. So this is Laurel from the Sunrise, and Inner Corner, definitely not the same, more pink. And the Sunrise palette is warmer. That's the Sunrise palette, and this is Glam. So next we have the Love palette next to Glam. We've got Blind from the Love palette and Center Eyelid from Glam. This is from the Love palette, and this is from Glam. The Love one, when you swatch it by itself, it doesn't seem purple, but when you put it next to this one, it seems like it has a more purple undertone. So they're pretty similar except for that purple undertone. They're both gorgeous silvers. I don't wear silvers enough. Inner corner, this one's inner corner from the Glam palette. It's got some micro shimmer in it and it's absolutely stunning. And you cannot tell unless you're looking really up close, but the micro shimmer in it is like blue. It's not overpowering, but it's so gorgeous. So lastly, we have bronze next to Glam. I don't think any of those are similar, so I'm not going to swatch anything from that. Overall, I don't think there is a lot of duplicates from the Natasha Denona line. So even from what I understand with the mini Glam, you're not getting any duplicates. These are all new shades. So as you can tell, I have my entire face done except for my eyes. I'll have all that information listed down below. I primed my eyelids with the Pretty Vulgar eyelid primer. I've been enjoying this quite a bit. I got this in a BoxyCharm and my eyelids are pretty oily and I feel like this works to hold them, which is hard for me to find. So I've been enjoying this. We'll see how it works with the Glam palette. And then I just set my lids with some translucent powder as well. Okay, so I got y'all all zoomed in. Let's get started on the eye look. First, I'm gonna go in with this shade called Transition. And this is just a very light gray. I'm curious if this would be ashy on super dark skin tones because it is quite light and cool. It might be a good maybe brow bone highlight or inner corner highlight, like a matte inner corner highlight for darker skin tones. So now I'm gonna go into this shade Crease. And for both of these, I'm using the Morphe M532 brush. These matte shades do get some fallout in the pan, but nothing that's, oop, got some fallout on my face too. That did not happen to me yesterday when I was playing with this. I think I'm going ham in the pans a little bit today. I can be a little heavy-handed. There we go. I can sometimes have issues with pigment sticking on this outer corner. So I'll pick up product and just pat it in to try to get that to stick better. I'm just doing windshield wiper motions in the crease and then patting it on the outer corner. And now I'm gonna go in to blend this warm shade and I'm just gonna put it in the same spot just to give the look a little bit of warmth. Same thing, windshield wiper motions. And on the outer corner. Natasha Denona mattes are so easy to blend. If you're a beginner and you don't mind spending some money on eyeshadows, they truly do, the work for you. So now I'm gonna take my Kitco 1.27S, my soft blender brush, and I'm gonna go into Smoke. And I'm just gonna add that to the outer corner just to deepen it up a little bit in that V. So now I'm just gonna run some of these on the lower lash line. I'm gonna use my Morphe E18 and go back into crease and also blend the warm shade, or neutral warm. I'm patting into both of those. I'm just smoking it out and blending it into the top. And now I'm gonna go in with my Morphe M149 and into the shade Smoke. And I'm just going to apply that right up against the lash line on the lower. Just to add some definition. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of that to the lash line on the top outer corner as well. So I'm gonna go in with some shimmer shades now, and I'm gonna use 3 just so I can use as many shades as possible. I'm gonna use these 3 shades right here, this on the outer corner, and then on the center of the lid and inner corner. I am gonna go in with my NYX Glitter Glue. I did try to apply some of these shimmers last night without it, and I just love an intense shimmer shade. If you don't like that, these do apply fine without it, but my favorite way to apply is 1 with a glitter glue and 2 with my finger. So if that's not your preferred method, if you don't want as intense of a shade, that's your choice and you can do it that way if you'd like. So I'm gonna start with the darkest shade on the outer corner first. I'm taking that almost halfway. This shade is so beautiful. Now I'm gonna go in with this shade, center eyelid on the center of the eyelid. This top row, these like pinkier shades have got to be my favorites in the palette. And the reason I brought that first shade so far over is because I'm blending this other shade into it. So you see that there's no line in between those 2 shades. And now I'm going in with inner corner, and I left this little space in here because this shade is stunning and I want it to show more than just in the tight inner corner. One of the other reasons why I use a glitter glue is so that this stuff doesn't fall on my face all day. If you aren't using glitter glues when you're applying shimmer shades like this, you potentially are gonna have more fallout. So I'm gonna go in with my Sephora Pro Flat Concealer number 76 brush, and then I'm going back in with this inner corner shade, and I'm gonna put it on the actual inner corner. And also just taking that on the lower lash line just a little bit. And I'm just gonna take my Koko brush again and go into Smoke just a little bit. Just a teeny tiny bit of product and tap it off. I'm just gonna blend in the crease. So just to get some more use out of more shades in the palette, I'm gonna go in with this shade called Brow Bone, and I'm gonna put it on the brow bone. Again, using my Sephora Pro Flat Concealer brush. I'm gonna take my crease brush. I'm just gonna run that through. I always like to go over that after I put my brow bone highlight on, just so everything mixes together nicely and there aren't any harsh lines. So now I'm gonna take my Alamar Cosmetics liner brush. I don't know what it's called. The number is, or the name is coming off. And I'm gonna go into the shade right here called Lash Line. And we are gonna run that on the topper lash line just a little bit on the outer corner only. This shade is so pigmented. I'm tapping in once and tapping off the brush, and I'm getting exactly the definition from it that I want. I'm actually going to add a little bit of that on the outer corner on the lower lash line as well. I love using eyeshadow as like an eyeliner to get definition. It's just softer and it looks beautiful. So that's it for the eyeshadow. I'm gonna hop off camera and do my mascara and my lips, and I'll be back. Hey y'all, I'm back with the finished look. On my lips, I've got Kylie Koko Lip Liner with MAC Modesty Lipstick and the new Tower 28 Cashew Lip Gloss on top. Overall, I think this Natasha Denona Glam palette is amazing. I love all of the shades. I love all the shimmer shades. Everything is pigmented. Everything blends really well on the eyes. I haven't had any issues with anything. Hardly any fallout. A little bit in the pan with the mattes, but not too much. And overall, I just think this is a really great palette. I think this filled in a hole in the Natasha Denona collection, and I'm super excited to continue playing with this. I think I'm gonna do a 3 looks 1 palette with this and post that on my channel as well. Let me know in the comments below if you're interested in that, or let me know if you're interested in like a top 5 cool tone palettes video. I can do that as well. I'm doing a foundation wear test right now, and I may check in later in the evening and let y'all know how this eyeshadow is holding up. So I'll see you guys then. Hey y'all, it's super late. It is 10:40, and I just wanted to show you guys what my eyeshadow was looking like. Everything still looks tip-top shape. If you can't tell, I put on a dark lip. It's fading now just because I was feeling vampy and fall-ish. I'm ready for fall makeup, if you can't tell. But absolutely no creasing. Everything is still intense and vibrant, and I think it looks super good. I am gonna be obsessed with this palette for fall and winter time, maybe even spring. I'm so excited to be back into cool tones again. So this palette gets a 10 out of 10 for me, a full thumbs up, minus the shade names. Natasha, don't do that again. It's not going over well. I don't know that I've seen a positive review on the shade names. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe and hit that notification bell. It really helps me out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.